Here's part one of our conversation with a Canadian music legend, Murray McLauchlan. I'm John Beaudin from Rock History Canada. We actually technically put part one up on our sister channel, the big channel, Rock History Music. But we thought it'd be more appropriate to feature Murray McLauchlan on this channel. Here's part one, unofficially on this channel with Murray McLauchlan. Yeah, I always say I would never want to do it again. But with that in mind, when you were 27, things were 26, 27, 75, 76 on the Boulevard, the Boulevard album, Whispering Rain. Whispering Rain came after in 79, but Hard Rock Town. When this all started happening, am I wrong? But did things start really moving then quite a bit? You had a lot of great songs before that and some hits, but I want to know about that guy. What was going on with you? Did you ever feel like this is moving too fast, or was it not moving fast enough for you? I just wanted to get into your head in the mid-70s.
If I ever had the feeling that it was moving too fast at all, which I didn't. I mean, I was just working. I was working really hard. We were touring all of the time.
Yeah.
We were doing like national tours in Canada. We were also touring in the United States. I had a band. You know, it was loud. We were at that point in a tour bus with tractor trailer loads of stuff and tour managers and people on the road. So it was an enterprise. And, you know, I mean, I felt a bit like a rock star. I guess I did, because the places were full and they were humongous and people were doing backflips and we were incredibly loud. So, you know, it's kind of funny sometimes that I'm viewed as a folk singer or a country artist, because for a big chunk of that time, you know, I was fronting a very loud rock band on an electric guitar. So there you go. But, you know, what stopped me from, you know, developing, I guess, too big a head was the crash and burn that happened after Island Records imploded in the United States. That whole juggernaut of the Silver Tractors and me and all the stuff that we were doing, whether advisedly or ill-advisedly, wound up on Chris Blackwell's record label in the United States, Island Records. Mm-hmm. And so we went down with the full glory of everything happening to play the Bottom Line in New York, and, you know, it was fantastic. You know, John Lennon's girlfriend, May Pang, hanging around backstage. We had, you know, Rolling Stone with the front page of the Chicago Trib. We were in the New York Times. You know, we were like really, that was the moment. And the morning after I opened at the Bottom Line, Chris Blackwell decided to pull the plug on his American record label. So I had a Canadian tour starting, and as I like to say, there was blood in the water. Mm-hmm. Got to Victoria to start the tour with all of the stuff and the truck and the thick and the hip and the hoop, and got across to the island to do the show in Victoria, and the BC ferry workers went on strike. And my manager decided that he'd had enough and decided that was when he was going to quit the music business. So myself and the road manager got all of the stuff bonded through Bellingham, Washington, and back into Vancouver for the next show, the next night. Somehow we did that. Continued the tour across Canada, hemorrhaging money because the record had stiffed because the American record company wasn't there and there was blood in the water. By the time I got to Winnipeg, I was broke, had to fire the band, and I was about $30,000 in debt.
Murray, what album was this?
This was just after the Hard Rock Town album came out.
Okay.
So by the time I got to the Maritimes, I was performing all of these big rock songs, you know, as a solo and acoustic guitar, just pay the bills. So I got back to Toronto, and as I like to say, I mean, I just looked in the mirror and said two words, and the second one was this. So I got in this hot rod that I built and drove straight to California, stayed with a bunch of friends, started writing a bunch of songs, just writing my way out of it. And those songs became the album Whispering Rain. So I came back and recorded that record, went to Nashville, got the Jordanaires, and Whispering Rain was a gold record. Boom. So down, up, down, up. But what happened because of the Chris Blackwell thing was it really drew me up short. You know, like that was the first time, you know, I mean, there's lots of failures, but that was a big professional, personal, colossal flopping failure. And I had to really face that. But it led to Whispering Rain. I mean, Whispering Rain is one of my top 20 albums of all time. That one, I mean, I remember thinking, man, you know, to quote Peter Gabriel, he's digging in the dirt. That one cuts deep. There was that one. It's almost like
not that I didn't think you meant it before, because I was a pretty big fan of yours before, but I remember thinking, not that you were singing with your lower register, but I always had this saying in my head that when a man speaks from his lower register, not that you were singing that way, but, or like Arnold would say, when he walks in a room, he makes noise. I remember thinking, he's a real man now. There was, and maybe that explains what you went through, because I believed you more on that album. For whatever reason, I remember you hit me more on Whispering Rain. And I remember, man, you got amazing press on that album, great airplay. That must have been gratifying after everything that had happened.
Yeah, it was. To come up, it's sort of like not making the playoffs and then winning the Stanley Cup, from one year to the next. And it was, by the time I got to do Whispering Rain, I mean, it was also a really interesting experience because, I learned a lot during the process. I mean, one of my favorite stories, it's like a learning experience for me. And it was kind of a Canadian learning experience. I was looking for a vocal backup group to do, the sweet vocals that wound up on the record. And the guy who was the engineer on the project, Kenny Friesen, he said, well, I can't think of anybody around Toronto that would really fit. Why don't we go get the Jordanaires? And I kind of went like, what are you, out of your mind? They're not going to work. It's Elvis Presley's backup group. They're not going to work for some asshole from Canada. And Kenny just went, he looked at me like I had two heads. And he said, like if you pay them, they'll work for it. It's like, what are you nuts? Yeah. So it was sort of this idea I had that, well, American people aren't going to work for me. I'm some idiot from Canada. Like they're really important and I'm not important. And I just it dawned on me that really wasn't the case. And that, at least financially speaking, the border doesn't really exist.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like you don't know what you don't know sometimes. And it's like Canadians have that mentality at times. I got to ask you, I don't want to keep you too long, but your trip to Italy, and I love stuff like this. I love the fact that you went to Italy and it rewired a little bit. It rejigged you a little bit. Tell me about that. That's like almost cathartic to me.
I wanted to go to Italy for several reasons. And one of the most important ones is I find it periodically it's really important to just get out of Canada for a while. It's something I recommend for anybody who's from anywhere. Especially Americans, because they're so Americentric. Mm-hmm. American people generally don't know shit about the outside world or how it works. So, I mean, no rancor by that. It's just they're really ignorant in terms of what is going on, mostly. So I wanted to go to Italy because I wanted to learn how to get groceries and, get the laundry done and make friends and learn a smattering of Italian, enough to get by and be polite and order something in a restaurant or get groceries or, like I said, do the laundry. And a lot of funny stuff happened. And yeah, it did rewire me. By the time, it sounds like a Jimmy Webb song, by the time I got to Florence.
I love Jimmy Webb, by the way.
We'd already lived down in Lecce, so, I had bought this. I actually bought a cheap guitar in Italian in a suburban store, the only guitar store in all of Lecce, called Guitars Land, with the S. And, it was a hilarious experience. I walked in there with my Rosetta Stone Italian and said, "Hi, I'm from Canada. I want to buy a cheap guitar." And they looked at me like, "Eh?" And it dawned on me that nobody in the store spoke a word of English. So, that's when it started. Vorrei una chitarra economica, per favore. See? Oh, so they point at the wall and he's like, these shitty guitars, and I pick them off and I'm playing these shitty guitars and I'm playing some chords. And then the owner of the store, Paolo, comes out from the back. He says, no, wait. And then he goes down in the basement and he brings me one of those Chinese Gibson J45s, like a Chinese carbon copy of a Gibson J45. And I picked the thing, and it's actually really good. Like, it sounds great. So I negotiate. I even got them to throw in a case. The whole deal was done in Italian. And this is the guitar I had. It sounded beautiful. So by the time I got to Florence, I was spending my mornings sitting in the sunshine in this little pergola with a thatched roof over it, overlooking the whole valley of the Arno, just playing this guitar. And I was learning a kind of a new language on it at the time. based on these things, like you see nerdy kids on the internet with a Fender Telecaster playing these things called shell voicings, and they're like the rudiments of jazz chords, or they're chords that allow you to play songs from the American Songbook if that's your bag.
Mm-hmm.
My ambition was eventually I just wanted to be able to comp along with Freddie Green and the Basie Orchestra, and that's what I was working on. And as I sort of started working on it, I realized, wow, I really love the way these things sound. And I realized it was the gateway to playing like a lot of music that I hadn't really been able to successfully play before. Mm-hmm. So I kind of fell in love with playing the guitar at that point again when I was in Italy, and a lot of other stuff too. I mean, if you're an art student and you can get in your dumb little Nissan Micra and go park it down by the Porto Romano and walk, and the next thing you're in the Accademia dell'Arte looking at the statue of David, going, "Holy shit!" Or you're looking at Botticelli's Primavera and go like, "I never knew it was that big."
Well, I know
art's astonishing.
I know art's a part of your life. And did you do any artwork when you were there?
I didn't draw while I was there. No, it was all music, and it was all just experiencing art. I mean, like I went so native. Like my daily routine would be, go down to the Sant'Ambrosio marketplace, get the food. Every twice a week, I would go down to the little Negozione di Vino by the Arno, where they had big demijohns of all of the best, wines from the whole area of Tuscany and Umbria. And you just go like, I'd like 6 bottles of that, 6 bottles of that, 6 bottles of that. You bring all your sterilized bottles, and they'd fill them up for you. And you walk out of there like with enough wine to kill a monk. For €20. It was fantastic.
My God, what an experience. Good for you.